Good morning to each and every one of you. Good morning. And what a blessed environment we have this morning, with the exception of the sun creeping in here, but we'd rather have that than the rain creeping in. I'm looking around this crowd and seeing a number of faces, individuals that identify with history. I guess in one way, when I see Ruth Hill, knowing that she was at the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and a few other documents, that there are some others. Perhaps Dick Dodge was there as well, if we look closely at the picture. But what a wonderful, wonderful situation this is, with having people from all over the county. And so we're going to begin the program today with a representation that is just outstanding. I had the pleasure of sitting through this a couple of months ago. The mayor of the city of Angola made a presentation, and so I've asked the mayor to start off the program today. And so, Mayor, the podium is yours. The Honorable Dick Hickman.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. And good morning, everyone. In the past, the Mayor's Arts and Humanities Award has always honored an individual for substantial and long-term contributions to the cultural life of the Angola area. The contributions of the first winners were for their contributions over an extended period of time, mainly in the past, and in some cases, still ongoing contributions. This year's recipient was different. This year's recipient received this honor for her artistic contribution to this county that will live on far into the future for generations to come. Because of her contribution, these future generations will come to better understand the history of their county and their country. Springing from Olympian blood and born to eponymous name of Phillips Bay, much was expected of Lou Ann Phillips. Her father was Herman Phillips, U.S. Olympic sprinter in 1928 and winner of numerous national titles, a man still revered by many who knew him. If you don't believe me, just sometime ask Daphne Anderson, if you don't believe me. Daphne's right over there. After graduation from an Angola high school, Lou Ann, later Lanigan, went on to cast the demigods of our own times and state, such as Eli Lilly, CEOs of various major corporations, and politicians, including Richard Lugar and Governor Otis Bowen, casting them into a permanent form that was reserved in ancient times in Greece and Rome for gods and goddesses, emperors, and great generals. This is what Senator Lugar had to say about her, and I quote, "Lou Ann Lanigan is a very distinguished Indiana artist, and the strength of her artistry and creativity in our state is substantial and will be enduring. Here in Angola, in this yard behind me in front of the courthouse, will abide a bust to honor the man known as Baron von Steuben, the man President George Washington said was invaluable in training troops to the discipline required to defeat the British." And here too in Steuben County, in Angola, Indiana, on our monumental and historic square, will abide the name Lou Ann Lanigan Chosen, a name that will last in this blessed geographical area as long as the name Phillips Bay. It is my honor to introduce to you the lady who has sculpted this everlasting tribute to Baron von Steuben, Steuben County's and Angola's own Lou Ann Lanigan Chosen.
I thought a lot about this moment and what would be a good thing to say, because I thought they might ask me, but I have lost for words because I'm just so overwhelmed and so pleased to be here. And I feel so much at home. You have no idea what it feels like to be in Angola. And on Lake James too, we had a wonderful boat ride last night all around the lake and saw all the places that my father had started. But I just want to thank everybody that helped so much, because it was a long process. We started this in October, and there were so many people along the way that had their part in it. And my husband, right there, Roland, certainly had a good part in his beginning of the armature is what goes under the brass, or the bronze. And he did all kinds of constructing to get that so it'd be just right for the bronze to go on top of that. So he even had blisters on his fingers. So I do thank Roland more than anybody. I appreciate that, and he knows it. Oh dear, I just can't. I look at this town and I think of all the fun things I did here. I see friends out there that I haven't seen in 70, 75 years. Some of them are childhood friends, many of them are high school friends. And if Chuck Sheets is here, he's the one that got me really going after I learned about this project. So I just want everyone to know that I'm so grateful to have this bust here. And the wonderful thing about it is that after we're all gone, this bust will still be here because it's going to outlast us for centuries. And I've got a tear running down my cheek, so maybe I'll quit talking now, but thank you for coming. And I want to thank the DAR, that's so important. They raised money for the pedestal, and I think they're still trying to raise some more money for the pedestal. But the DAR stands for Daughters of the American Revolution. And this means that through genealogy, we can trace our background all the way back to the constitutional, you know, the American Revolution. And my little guy that I'm related to, because I'm in the DAR, was named Jacob Hackelman, and he was from West Virginia, and he was a private. But anyway, I feel so close to this county, I can't even begin to tell you. So thank you for coming.
From Florida, the people came today. Other places, those relatives of Luann's. Would you at this time please stand if you're one of those relatives that has come up to visit and be with Mother today?
From all the way from Florida with their children, and one came from Chicago, and there's others from Indianapolis. There's a lot of people who've come a long way to see this, so appreciate it.
All right. I have a reputation for keeping things relatively short. My former commissioner, Mayo Sanders, is out here, and he knows he's shaking his head. But folks, I'd like to share with you two brief, and I want to keep it very brief, what I call a providential journey, number one, and a providential journey, number two. 1730, a young person was born in Magdeburg, Prussia. For those of you who know your world history, you know that there were some 200 German states. And it wasn't until the time of Bismarck they actually became a unified country. And so he came from Magdeburg, one of those provinces. He then was taken by his family to Russia, which was a war at the time. He learned some of his war skills there, then back to Poland, eventually to Austria. And there he fought in a war and was badly wounded. He spent some time recuperating, and then all of the wars had died down in Europe at that time, and so as a result, he was looking for some action. What do I do? Fortunately, there was a gentleman in France who was seeking some assistance for these new United States. His name was Benjamin Franklin. And so Steuben went to Franklin and said, I would volunteer my services. Now, I know there have been many others who have gone over, and some people like those foreigners, but some people do not. The likes of Baron de Kalb, Pulaski, Kosciuszko, and I could go on with others whose names are here in counties in the state of Indiana. But nonetheless, he volunteered his services, and it took a while to find the funds to get him on a ship and send him to America. So he arrived in that winter of 1777 and 1778. He is commonly called the drill master of Valley Forge. We had been beaten at Brandywine and Germantown. We even had been pushed out of our capital at the time, that being Philadelphia. And so our continental government, you see, was literally out of town, so to speak, while the British partied in Philadelphia. It was that winter that von Steuben kept asking the Congress, send me men, send me food, send me supplies. It didn't happen. But nonetheless, those ragtag, shoeless individuals learned to drill because the Baron said, if I keep their mind off of their misery and make them understand they're working toward a goal, it will work. By the way, that winter, Martha Washington visited the camp, and she thought Steuben was an outstanding individual and loved talking with him, loved his sense of humor. He drilled the troops, and after the war as the war progressed, I won't go into all of that, but we began to win battles. And so this was kind of a turning point in the war. Now I know some history teachers are here, and history teachers, we commonly call Saratoga the turning point in the war. But this was really one of the turning points, because all of a sudden we began to fight as a formidable military. The war drew to a close, and von Steuben was faced again with, what in the name of sense do I do? And with his title, you see, as a general in the armies begin to dissipate. So he advocated that we keep a standing army because they probably would be back. And those of you who know your history, in 1812, they came back again, those rascals, and even burnt our capital. But nonetheless, we did not follow that admonition, and so he needed something to do. The Continental Congress gave him a stipend of 2,500 Continentals per year. Now, in that day, that was a lot of money, $2,500 a year. But there was also a saying that went on, it's not worth a Continental, meaning, in other words, the currency was almost worthless. So he lived his life as a pauper. There were two things, however, of the good news. One, he was granted citizenship in several of the states. Remember, we were a Confederate States of America and not a United States of America. And so that being the case, they also gave him 16,000 acres of land in upstate New York. I have been very close. I've been to Oriskany, I've been to Herkimer's home, but I've never been in the Steuben Forest. Yes, I'm going back to visit that. And so with that, he hung out in New York City with his good friend Alexander Hamilton, who managed his finances for him. And ultimately, he headed north and went to the area of Utica, New York. There he had a fair life, relatively lonesome. He lived in a log cabin, but alas, one night he had a bad night, and he died. He was buried in 1794, and then later, as they were going to put through a national road, they had to exhume him because he would have been under one of the lanes of the road. So they put him over in a place called the Sacred Forest. The Sacred Grove is there now, and there is a monument to him. It is not like the monument that we have here. It does not have the bust of that good baron. The second part I'm going to call the Providential Journey number 2. In 1963, for some reason, a young lady from this area picked me up at Indiana Wesleyan. I was a Madison County boy, named obviously for James Madison. She drugged me to Steuben County, and when I saw this county, I said, this is where I'm going to live. And so for the next 36 years, I taught at Hamilton Community Schools. I had a wonderful time as a teacher. There is no better occupation. I'm sure some of you feel yours is better, but that's my appraisal of what teaching is all about. Nonetheless, after I finished, I began a quest and started working with various people and talking to them. How do we get something to commemorate the man for whom this county is named? Now, you know LaGrange is right next door to us. And that was named after Lafayette's farm. LaGrange means the farm. And so there are various others that are named after individuals or various issues. By the way, you all know, too, that Steuben County at one time was a part of Michigan. And you also know that Steuben County was a part of LaGrange. And so they separated out, and we became an independent county. Now, if this is too much history for you, just leave. Anyway, that being the case, with that little quest, I went to this person, that person, looked here, looked there, and again, maybe it was just my lack of ability to do so. So one day at the farmer's market, I spoke to this young man in this pale yellow shirt here, and I said, Mike, I'm getting really frustrated. I want to see a statue, a monument, something, a bust to this good baron. And I talked to people in Angola, and they keep saying, where is your monument to Steuben? To which I would reply, there is none. And so that even made me want more to do it. Now, Mike put a title on there that kind of frustrated me. In fact, I said, oh no, when I read it. But it went something like this. Baron von Steuben will get his due if Commissioner gets his way. Now, I wasn't really wanting it to be that way. It wasn't my way. There are too many trucks in Angola, Mayor. Anyway, I'll pause just a moment. Mike put the article in the paper, and here's where, again, Providence begins to come in. The Josephs were not home, and so when they turned home, there was a stack of papers. And perhaps a week, week and a half, or 2 weeks old, Luann starts going through the papers and all of a sudden uncovers the article that had been buried there for a short period of time and said, look at this. I'm going to become a part of this. So she called some fellow here in Angola by the name of Chuck Sheets. Some of you people probably don't even know who he is, but nonetheless, he's around here, I hope, somewhere. But she called Chuck Sheets, Chuck called me, and I called back to their residence. You say 10 minutes was about the time it took to run that gamut, so you see we didn't waste any time. So back it went. Now keep in mind she's in Fishers. She volunteered her service and said, I will contribute this to the county. When I regained consciousness, I picked up the phone and said, you have got to be kidding. What an opportunity. Well, the things begin to fall together, and so as you heard, her husband contributing to this, and she began to craft this in their home. And I got to see some of the pictures of that work. She sent them to me and said, look what we're doing. And I thought, oh my, where's this going? And so then they got the monument completely done. She sent some pictures of that, and I shared those with some of you people. Mike, you can put those in the paper. And off the good Baron went to Louisville, Kentucky. It took a little while, but they found enough bronze down there, put it together, and made this bronze statue or bust that we have here today. Last Friday, the 29th, a rather large derrick pulled up right here, lifted the Baron and the pedestal, brought it over, placed it here, and it's fastened down. Now, they guaranteed us it's fastened down forever, and so that's the way we want it to be. But nonetheless, under that shroud, there it is. One of our volunteers that day happened to see that he wasn't properly covered, and so he ran out and got this beautiful blue tarp that is there. And so we can say we have a Blue Man group right here in Steuben County as well. Nonetheless, July the 4th of 2012, which is today, we have gathered for not only seeing the work that she has done to honor her, her family, and her effort. And so in that process, look at my notes, I would like to thank some of the following people who played a part in this. The DAR, Leela Jackson, please stand up. She's the president. There are other DAR members here, but again, thank you, Leela Jackson and the DAR. She jumped on that, and I began to get phone calls and correspondence. And then the Steuben County historian, Peg Dilbone. Where are you, Peg? She's standing over there in the rear. And then we have Miss Danick, I guess it is, from the Steuben County Foundation. Is she here? They are the pass-through for us, and if you have any contributions, you may make them to the foundation. She'll take care of them. Yes, we are still in need. And then tourism, June Julian. I don't know if June's in the crowd, but June and Julian worked with me as well. The chamber, Mrs. Vanette, are you here? I didn't call these people and make it mandatory. Perhaps I should have. I'm going to mark them absent in my class. And then Steuben County Commissioners. Mr. Kyle is away today visiting his brand new granddaughter for a first time. He had not yet seen her, been on a cruise, and thought maybe he should go down and see her. And then I'm going to ask her to step over here, and I'm going to repeat the bad joke that a lot of people tell. We finally have a smart commissioner in Steuben County. And so Loretta Smart is our newest county commissioner. She's been very supportive. We got here the other day. I asked her to say a few words, and you can see she's not going to. I wanted her to, but she says she just does better. She remains quiet, but nonetheless. And then back here somewhere is our left arm. There she is, right there, Cheryl Gowdy, and she's the coordinator. And without her, and again helping us, all of us, in doing our work, she made it happen. So Cheryl, thank you very kindly as well. I want to go back and give some special thanks to these people. Mike Martorello. He had no idea what he was motivating, stimulating, causing to happen. And so, Mike, for your part, I give you extreme thank you. Chuck Sheets, again, I don't know if you are here, but I talked to Chuck on a number of occasions. He's perhaps out of the state. I know he goes out of state, but Chuck, he's over here. Oh, he's that handsome white-haired man back here in the corner. All right. Thank you, Chuck Sheets. And again, folks, had it not been for Chuck Sheets, it probably would not have happened. However, when Luann called him, he was just like that into the program and has followed up and made it possible ever since. And then there's a young man sitting back here by the name of Gene White. And I thought, oh my. I sat at home and I drew diagrams of what the pedestal was going to look like. I'm dreaming and scheming and thinking, what am I going to do? And the next thing I know, Gene White joins the picture, and Gene says, Ron, come on up. The Josens and I have been working on this, and we're going to show you what we have in mind and see if this works. I went up and looked at it, and again, my heart was full of glee. And again, I want you to stand, Gene, because you have been a very heavy instrumental part in this process. Also, might I add, being the good man, businessman that he is, he gave us a considerable discount on the monument, and so for that. to the whites, and Susie, it's coming out of your pocket too. So we thank you very kindly for that special contribution to us. And then standing over here, as we got ready to dig this hole back here, by the way, there were roots in it and everything else, so we just attacked it. And so we had 3 special engineers by the name of Al Nisley. Al, raise your hand. Al's back there somewhere. Dennis Kinsey, I don't know if Dennis is here. And Gary Fair. Now these guys were not really intended to do the hard work, so Mr. Crowell and I attacked this with a pickaxe and shovels and everything else. There's 2 yards of concrete in the ground. For those of you who have no idea, that's a lot of weight and a lot of size, but we wanted the barren to stay there. So as a result, those are the people who helped to get this where it is today. And now, I have asked 3 individuals to come and speak to us just a little bit. They are Mr. Dodge, Mr. Cruz, and Mrs. Glick. These individuals, you know, are state senators and representatives. And I said to Dick this morning, being that you're the local person, I'm going to give you the top billing. So Mr. Dodge, you have the floor. It's yours as long as you want. No more than 30 seconds, please.
Thank you, Ron, and what a beautiful day it is and proper to dedicate this monument to the founder of Steuben County, or the namesake for Steuben County. It certainly is fitting and appropriate on the 4th of July, Independence Day, and Baron General von Steuben had a great part in the independence of the United States, being a part of the Revolutionary War that gained us this independence, so it certainly is fitting and proper that we would do this dedication today. I just want to say thank you to Commissioner Smith and his colleagues and all the people from the county that had a part, and many of you were all mentioned here today, a part of bringing this about, and it's certainly a pleasure to be able to be a part of it, and I thank you all for being there today. So thank you much.
Person meeting, no introduction. Senator Cruz with his dapper hat. Where did he go? There he is.
Well, it is time, and the time has come. So we've waited since 1837. I didn't figure out how many years that is, but it's quite a few years. And we finally have, I think, a fitting monument to the person that our county is named after. And I have 2 connections. One is that my family was from Prussia in northern Germany, and also my wife is a cousin to Alexander Hamilton, who was a good friend of his, and so my family has connections on both my side and my wife's side. And I think it's great that we're doing this here today. I think this is something that we're going to be able to see and honor for centuries into the future, and I want to thank you for the work that you've done in creating this sculpture, and I think people will appreciate it very much. And I thank each one of you for being a part of the county here and for the history that we have in Steuben County. And I think we've added a new dimension and a new figure here today with a statue that I think many people will look at over the years ahead. So thank you very much for being here today.
And speaking of hats, very fashionable Sue Glick. Senator Glick?
One of the reasons that I'm here is I'm also a member of the DAR, and I know how much effort they give to remind people of why we're here and the people who brought us freedom, as well as those who have served all of the years since, protecting that freedom, defending that freedom. One thing that those of you who served in the United States Army should know, that it was von Steuben who spoke very little English. And when Washington put him in charge of enforcing order, he drew up rules of order and rules of discipline. He couldn't speak or swear in English, and so he would swear in French and German, and he would have his aide-de-camp translate. So all of those of you who suffered under drill instructors in the United States Army and the other branches of the service, you have von Steuben to thank. He initiated that along with close order drills and the orderliness of our military system. It is a pleasure to participate. I won't be long this. The labors of many speak for themselves, and I'm proud of the people of this county of this community and also the artist who created this sculpture. Thank you.
If I have overlooked anyone who has had a part in this, and I know there are many of the persons in the DAR, we will be putting the names in the paper of those who will be receiving the certificates, making you honorary barons. But one little trick I played on the mayor, and I needed this to happen, one day we were meeting this jury room on the second floor, and I made the statement we weren't quite sure where he was going to be located. The mayor walked to the front window and said, "What's wrong with right down there?" And that's all I needed. That's what I wanted to hear. And so he suggested that we put it here. It was either that or in his front door. And so as a result, it's right here in front of this wonderful, wonderful building of ours. Okay? I think I've covered bases with all of those. Mary Helen Jones. I hope to have this lady from the DAR in Utica, New York, come and visit with us in another year. I've kept her abreast of what we're doing here. They are very excited out there. By the way, those of you who have read the material in the paper know there are only two Steuben counties in the United States. One is in New York, and one's in Steuben County. And of course, we're very proud to bear that name. And so at this time, I would like the Josens to come forward. We have a little presentation we'd like to make to you. And so if you just step up on either side of the podium here. My able assistant, my granddaughter, Ashlyn Meyer, has in her possession, if you would take those out, let's do the Baron first. These were created by our very own people at the printing place. And as you can see, the background that we have, the Baron's face there in the background. And then down here where it says the Baron sculptor, I plagiarized and used Luann's signature. I took it from some of her material and put it on there, so you have the names of the commissioners, the names of the sculptor, the county seal, and then it says, Baron von Steuben, in honor of your service and contribution to the citizens of Steuben County, Indiana, Roland Josen is named an honorary baron by the commissioners of Steuben County this day of 7/4/12. With gratitude and privilege, we bestow this honor. I do not have a key to the city. The mayor wouldn't give it to me, but you have as much right in the county as you will. I hope you proudly display that.
Thank you.
Ashlyn, thank you. And the only change that we have on this is we didn't want Luann to be a baron, and so hers is stated, Luann Lanning-Josen is named an honorary baroness by the commissioners of Steuben County this day, and so it has the signatures on there as well. And so the two of you are the first baron and baroness that the commissioners have named in Steuben County. And so thank you for coming. All right. Now, it's that time that we've looked for, and that is for the blue tarp to disappear. So if you put your plaques back there, Roland, if you'll assist your wife around to we have an escape area over here, and I've asked Al Nisley to kind of be a
I can't get
shrub
through it.
holder
You
so we
can, I
get her
think,
in
but I
there.
can't.
I wanted to see her high jump that fence, but you know, with these little things sticking up here, it might not have been a pretty sight.
My father was a good high jumper.
Yeah, he would have appreciated that. It's like Christmas. pictures of the Josens as they have the good bearing between them. I hope you can notice the strength and the pride that she has placed in the face and the stature of this monument. It exudes the fact that this was a person that gave the United States the additional help that they needed during the Revolution. So if all of you have your pictures, folks, we're going to conclude this part. Some of us are going to go get in the parade. And those of you who have these chairs, if you can turn them around and use them here, that's quite all right. They belong to the city. Don't take them home. Anyway, thanks to all of you kindly for attending this morning and being a part of this process. Thank you.